Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today?
Good.
How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings, and happy Halloween. Today is that crazy day that happens once a year. It's the 31st of October. We have a sun in Scorpio. We have a moon in Aquarius. The aspects we need to be aware of today are Mercury is going to jump into, well, let's see, starting earlier, we have, starting right after midnight, let's take a look at what we've been dealing with and the energies. Venus, so we have imagination, so we have Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign, air, our mind, the words and actions we speak. So we're dealing with a sign dealing with air. Okay, how we express ourselves. So now we've got a lesson, imagination. So imagination wants to get in. So we need to use our imagination, how we're going to express ourselves, because there's a lesson there. Whatever's going on right now, there's some maybe dissatisfaction. Our imagination isn't being satisfied. And so we're looking. Aquarius, remember, Aquarius is that futuristic, wants to look for something out there even better, looking for, you know, to evolve in a very precise, continuous manner. And so imagination is needed. So we're looking at that over the course of the day. And then right about now, we have Uranus is jumping into the mix here. And Uranus brings to us this unexpectedness, the surprise. Okay, so over the course of today, the aspect we're going to feel is Aquarius is going to be now looking and dealing with some unexpected energies. As we move through the course of the day, now it moves into aspect with Mercury, communication. But by later this evening, we find that there's a way, whatever is going on seems to find a nice, smooth way of communicating itself. So we start to maybe smooth out a little bit, and then this evening, 7:29 p.m. Pacific time, we're in an opposition. So that Aquarius is now going to be opposed with Jupiter. Jupiter is about expansion. So there could be a nice, good balance to all that we're feeling as there's an expansion of what we need to balance ourselves out with. Okay, so remember, Scorpio, deep transformation. So all of this is taking place underneath that transformative aspects of Scorpio. So there's a lot of change going on. Definitely change taking place in the air over the course of the weekend. We're going to be going from Aquarius into Pisces. So we start to get into feelings, a water sign, our emotions, working out the energies in a different way because we're making a transition from one energy or element into another. So we're going from air to water. So there's a transition, a change that takes place. And so that water, and Scorpio's being a water sign, now you get two water signs, so there's a little bit more harmony that takes place. Whereas with Aquarius being an air sign, even though air and water can work together, you have more harmony when you have the elements in synchronicity with each other as opposed to when it's a different combination, because all they are is different combinations. So going through this change, this Aquarius is very important with remembering that, we think of the age of Aquarius, that futuristic time that we're moving towards, that we've moved into. And so we think about that, and so when we apply that with Aquarius in the tarot card is Zadi, the fish hook, the star, which is about meditation. So we learn to still our minds, to go inside our subconscious, to ask the proper questions so that we can understand what's going on. So if we apply those ideas of meditation, of the tarot card or the star to this, and we could see that our imagination works itself out through the meditative process, through our dreams. We can work through our issues through the process of being open to change and allowing the unexpected, because sometimes we get caught in these blocks and we need to have something come in and shake us up a little bit, and that's what the unexpected is. So we should embrace the unexpected, because then it allows us to really be able to understand how to better communicate, express ourselves. And then we expand outward into new arenas, new areas. So, good energies going on. Let's take a look at our sun sign right here, Scorpio. Moon sign is right here, Aquarius. It's going to be moving into Pisces over the weekend, which is down here. All of these are coming out of Victory. Netzach is the name. It is the sphere of emotions, sphere of Venus. A numerology for today is the number 3. Here's how we've arrived at that. 1 plus 0 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 all adds up to 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So let's take a look here then at the number 12. 12 is right here, the hangman. Hangman is all about suspending the mind, is what that means. The hangman suspends the mind, hanging upside down in order to look at things from a new perspective, because things are too severe. So we need to get a new perspective. And when we get a new perspective, we see the splendor of the universe. We see a much grander picture than what we were normally looking at. And we have, of course, Scorpio. So we have all our placements here. So why don't we, and then this 12, 1 and 2 becomes 3, which is the imagination. And this is one of the lessons we're dealing with today. The first of the square, Venus was in square with our moon sign Aquarius. So imagination is very important. Remember, imagination is bridging together the things we learn and then what we understand, our wisdom and our understanding. All 3 of these make up the supernal triangle of the tree of life. The first 3 important ones. Okay, so today let's take a further look at the tarot card of death, representing Scorpio, because this is what we're really dealing with here for this month. And with Halloween, let's take a good look, because we go out in the days about people trying to scare each other and have fun and such, but we poke fun at death a lot on this day, and that's one of the things that we do. And there's a benefit to that, understanding what death is and also understanding what death isn't. So we have this character here. We see the skeleton, and it seems to be a grim picture, but the meanings behind it are much different. It says, behind the fearsome and foreboding aspect of this key lies a world of inspired meaning. In the first place, the scene is not sunset, as you might suppose, but sunrise. The card does not represent the end, but the real meaning of death, which is change, motion, transformation. Death is but the gateway to the larger life and reality. It is the power represented by this key that transforms our consciousness and releases it from the trammels and the limitations that now hamper its free expression. The significance of this key is profound when you realize that all of our knowledge of life rests upon its continual motion and change, disintegration for the release of energy. The skeleton is the conventional figure of death. His scythe is of steel, referring to the planet Mars. It is crescent-shaped, indicating a relationship between this card and key 2, the High Priestess. The handle is shaped like the letter T, which stands for Ta. Ta is the last of the Hebrew letters. The 3 hands, the 2 active and the 1 passive, represents works. The severed foot refers to the end of the Piscean age, as the rising sun does to the beginning of the Aquarian age. The man's head symbolizes wisdom and the woman's understanding. So, if we were just to replace these, images with these words, we see wisdom, understanding, we see Piscean age, we'd see where the foot is, the hands represent work. So these are just symbols to represent meaning, that's all. Okay, we look at them, and because we just see a hand or a foot or this, we look at them and our imagination says, oh no, if we see a scythe and we see this image, he must have cut all these off. They have to be severed, but they don't have to be in relation that way. They could just be images upon a card in order to help us understand. And that's all. That is all, okay? The whole idea right here, seed, is what's important because we plant a seed with death. Think of like a flower. In order, a flower starts off as a seed. You plant it in the ground, but that seed dies in order to become the flower. And then that flower gives off fruit. Life moves in that way through the process of life and death. We just, here on earth at this time, we're stuck on this idea of death because we don't fully understand it. That's what Jesus was showing us, the difference of life and death and how they are intertwined. The letter on this card is 13. I believe that the secrets of the universe are hidden behind 13, which is why we're told it's superstitious and we shouldn't look at it. Because you have 13 are the number of moon cycles that take place during the course of the year. Jesus plus the 12 apostles, 13. The zodiac, 12. Right in the middle of the zodiac, the 13th position where the sun would be. So, a lot of significance to 13. Hebrew letter Nun means fish. Symbol of Scorpio. Okay. Let me take a quick look over here at the hangman also, because if we're looking at the numerology for today, it adds up to 12, which reduces to a 3. But the hangman here is very important. This key is full of meaning for an occultist. Its primary meaning is reversal. This refers to the reversal of thought, a point of view held by those who know from what that held by the unenlightened multitude. The adept realizes that his existence is dependent upon cosmic law. Another meaning of this card is suspended mind, which the Hindus name samadhi, in which the exalted mental state the aspirant reaches the divine consciousness of pure being. Mem means waters or seas, refers to the root matter as to the crescent and the upper garment. The gallows is the shape of the letter Ta. Again, you notice the importance of that. It was mentioned in the last key. Its 12 looped branches are the 12 signs of the zodiac. The edging of the jacket with the belt form a cross and a circle, symbolic of the positive and negative modes of the life expression. The white hair and the halo above the head suggest that the hanged man is the embodiment of the one light. The entire figure represents a pendulum at rest. He's unmoved and immovable, because he realizes that no person ever thinks, moves, or acts of himself, but simply expresses the thought, motion, and activity of the one identity. Okay, so there's part of our numerology for today. Our moon sign, we are 56% full, making our way up to the full moon. For Halloween after dark, the quarter moon shines in the south. It's between Altair, very high, to its upper right, and Fomalhaut down to its lower left. The Mayan Oracle, we are in the second tone, or the second day, of the wave spell of the Serpent, which is all about life force energy. Today, the World Bridger, it's about life and death. But it ties right into everything that we're talking about. Today would be the Lunar World Bridger, guided by the mirror. The phrase is I polarize in order to equalize, stabilizing opportunity. I seal the store of death with the lunar tone of challenge. I am guided by the power of endlessness. And then if we look at the calendar here, we could see the matrix. We could see that we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns over, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows down. That's why we have the synchronicity here, because these two match up, and therefore it intensifies or doubles the energy. That's why it's called the Galactic Activation Portal Day. Solar wind is currently at 420.8 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is in the quiet range between a 1 and a 2. We do have this pretty huge coronal hole that has opened up here. And over the next couple days, it says between November 3rd and 4th, we're going to be feeling the effects from this. Our M-class flare possibility is now down to 25%. It was as high as, 85? X-class is back down to 5%. And geomagnetic storm activity, 25% in the mid-latitudes. High latitudes, 35% or lower. And on the Jewish calendar, today is the 7 Cheshvan, 7 Cheshvan. And the daily thought is go to yourself. Go to yourself, to the land which I show you. There in the land I will show you your essence. The spiritual world of meditation and prayer has its borders. That which can be known will be known. That which is beyond knowing is permitted to whisper softly, and the very core of your being remains beyond the border, aching to enter, yet unable to utter a word of its presence. But when the soul descends into the world of action, then every rule can be broken, every boundary crossed. Take your soul out into the world. Take its very essence there. Find divine purpose in your work. Discover God within everyday workings of His world. You would come to know which cannot be known. Your eyes will see that which the soul could never bear, its very core of being. In this world, the soul knows no borders. It's a good thought. All right, there you go. So that's where we're at this Halloween day, October 31st, 2014. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. First story takes us up to the space station, October 30th. There's the object in question. We could see it in relation to the space station. This one captured by StreetCap 1. StreetCap 1 captures lots of objects up there by the ISS. Seems that UFOs at the space station are a daily occurrence. NASA has over the years taken a no-comment stance in every UFO ever recorded on the space station live internet cam, and yet there have been over 1,000. That is a lot of mounting evidence against NASA. Funny thing about not commenting, people often don't comment when they fear self-incrimination. Thus, NASA remains silent. All right, there's our object right here. This is 1 minute and 10 seconds. And here's a little bit more. Another 58 seconds worth. Okay, very good. Good capture again by StreetCap 1. UFO Digest, unreleased recordings of strange lights over AREQUIPA, Peru by Scott Corrales. According to Peruvian ufologist Anthony Choi, Peru is among the world's top 5 countries when it comes to the most UFO sightings recorded in the past decade. To Rafael Mercado, a ufologist from AREQUIPA, who visited the location and was able to access videos, take photos, and hold conversations with the area's inhabitants, the sightings would have gone unnoticed had it not been for some locals who claimed seeing strange objects flying over the Great Mount Venus, leading to the subsequent follow-up and capture of imagery. What are these lights? Several experts explained the subject in the following reports. So we have this here. And this is our image scene. Links available so you can check it out. Story going back to 1873 in Ohio, Zanesville. Almost 200 years ago, Morgan County, Ohio farmer Thomas Inman was walking home from Filio when he had what one researcher believes could be one of the earliest accounts of a close encounter of the third kind. The blazing object flickered and flared for a few moments and then faded into darkness as a man dressed in a complete suit of black and carrying a lantern emerged from it. The man walked a few paces and stepped into a buggy. There was no horse attached to the supernatural vehicle, but no sooner had the man taken his seat than it started to run noiselessly but with great velocity along the highway, when buggy, man, and lantern suddenly disappeared as mysteriously as they came. Here we have a newspaper clipping of that. The incident described in the writings of a Zanesville historian and journalist, William Alexander Taylor, in the New York Herald of April 5, 1873, sounds familiar, but is unique for its time. The early date at which it was drawn with the attention of the author Chris Aubeck, who traveled Zanesville from his home to Spain this month to further research the incident as well as several others for upcoming book. The topic of UFOs seems to have been very modern because it involves extraterrestrials and high technology, but in fact we've been talking about this for almost 200 years, Aubeck said. Although he doesn't necessarily believe in the strange phenomena he studies, he does believe they play an important part in society. I think sometimes something that's a part of the human culture and therefore should be studied as we should study all kinds of literature and genres of all kinds. All right. Good story there. Next one here is the story of Senator Richard Russell's UFO sighting in Russia, 1955. Georgia's Senator Richard B. Russell was a major figure in the U.S. Senate. As head of the U.S. Armed Services Committee, he exerted enormous influence over the American defense establishment. When he spoke, the military listened, so when Russell reported that he had seen while traveling through the Soviet Union, no one laughed, and hardly anyone outside of official circles knew of his remarkable experience until years later. Just after 7 p.m. October 4th, 1955, while on a train in the Transcaucasia region, the senator happened to gaze out a window to the south. To his considerable astonishment, his eyes focused on a large, disc-shaped object slowly ascending as a flame shot from underneath it. The object then raced north across the tracks in front of the train. Russell scurried to alert his two companions, who looked out to see a second disc do what the first had just done. At that moment, Soviet trainmen shut the curtains and ordered the American passenger not to look outside. As soon as they arrived in Prague, Czechoslovakia, the three men went to the United States Embassy and sat down with Lieutenant Colonel Thomas S. Ryan, the air attaché. Russell's associate, Lieutenant Colonel E.U. Hathaway, told Ryan that they were about to report something extremely important, but something that we've been told by your people doesn't exist. Soon rumors about the senator's sighting reached America, but when an operator for the Los Angeles Examiner tried to obtain details, Russell said only, "I have discussed this matter with the affected agencies, and they are of the opinion that it is not wise to publicize this matter at this time." The report was not declassified until 1985. Interestingly, one of the affected agencies was not Project Blue Book, which was never received the report. Apparently, the event was too sensitive for so lowly a project. Interesting. All right, and one more. This comes to us from it's called the Andreasson Affair, a bizarre alien abduction story. In the early 1990s, Dr. John Mack, a Harvard University psychiatrist, inquired into what exactly goes on with people who say they were kidnapped by aliens. Skeptical but curious, he interviewed scores of people over several years. In the end, he concluded that neither mental illness nor dishonesty was behind their claims. He said that while he had never seen an alien himself, the most sensible answer was that only the people's own stories adequately explained their recollections. Another well-credentialed investigator of UFOs was Dr. J. Allen Hynek, an astrophysicist who wrote the introduction to Raymond Fowler's The Andreasson Affair, first published in 1979 and now reissued. Hynek devised the well-known phrase close encounter to categorize reports of UFO sightings. CE1, a UFO seen within 500 feet. CE2, a UFO that left physical traces. CE3, a UFO with animated creatures. Other investigators added another category, close encounters of the fourth kind, to cover reports of alien abductions experiences. Fowler of Kennebunk has spent so much of his life making detailed investigations into UFO and abduction reports. His book, The Allagash Abductions, is the main source of information for the well-known incident that took place in Eagle Lake in August 1976. It transcribes and discusses the content of hypnosis sessions the four participants underwent to retrieve memories of being taken into a craft they saw hovering above the lake one dark night, of being examined, and then returning to their campsite. The Andreasson Affair takes the same approach. It's made up mainly of passages from transcriptions of hypnosis sessions in which Betty Andreasson and her daughter Becky describe events that took place in and beyond their house in South Ashburnham, Massachusetts in late January 1967. The story is not too fine a point on it bizarre. The family sees a bright light outside. The power goes out briefly, then their waking memories get fuzzy, but nagged by strange imagery from the dreamlike incident. Betty, 10 years later, hears of Hynek's research and writes to him. Hynek tells Fowler, and Betty is convinced to try hypnosis regression. Under hypnosis, she tells the story of a class abduction incident. Classic because, as Mack and others knew, the many reports have generally similar patterns and events. She describes being led to a house by entities 4 feet tall with gray skin and legs, outsized pear-shaped heads, large wraparound cat-like eyes. They reassure her throughout the encounter, take her into the ship through tunnels and into examining rooms and places completely elsewhere, some of the details holding religious implications, then home. They tell her that she has been chosen to reveal a message to humanity involving the overruling importance of love and spirituality. The fascinating question for most readers, of course, is this really happened? Fowler doesn't address the question directly. He sticks mainly to Betty's narrative, whose events seem to understand implicitly to be real. He offers comments and comparisons to other abduction accounts, and this 2014 edition adds some summary material to its predecessors, which include The Andreasson Affair Phase 2 from 1983, The Andreasson Legacy 1997. How you receive all this depends on how you get into it. If you think close encounter reports are hoaxes or mental illnesses, you won't get much. If, like John Mack, you're curious about what actually is happening, then there's plenty of food for thought whether you believe in aliens or not. Alright, there you go. So, that's what's going on in the world of UFOs today. I'll be right back.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continue on. So I just want to take a minute. I don't want to really get into this much. It's Halloween. I have 4 links that I put up at the website for you to look at. Check them out. Talks about the history of Halloween. So we've got one over at Live Science. We have one over at cbn.com. We have one over at history.com, and then there's a halloweenhistory.org, and it talks about the history of how Halloween became a holiday in the United States, how it stems from Halloween is the season for little ghosts and goblins. It says Halloween is also known as All Halloweens, can be traced back about 2,000 years to a pre-Christian Celtic festival held around November 1st called Samhain, which means summer's end. And then we get into how the tradition of the Halloween costume started, which was basically people would go around door to door asking for food. And in order to keep themselves disguised for whatever reasons, they would wear costumes. There's also the process of these games that they would play, which took place for a while. They would play tricks on each other, but then things got a bit dangerous, and things continue to evolve like they are today. But some of these stories, as you read through them, are interesting because they talk about the trick-or-treat holiday when kids would go out and they would get the candy. They would do so in exchange for a poem or a joke or something. It wasn't necessarily the big candy grab that it is today. It was a little bit more of a social festival, social holiday. But anyway, thought you would find this enjoyable, so I put the links available, firstcontactradio.com. But in the meantime, I want to get to our normal Friday material, which is Jesus and the parables of Jesus. So we're just going to continue right along with the next parable in order. This is from Luke 16, 1 through 8, the Shrewd Manager. Jesus told his disciples there was a rich man whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked him, "What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer." The manager said to himself, "What shall I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do, so that when I lose my job here, people will welcome me into their homes." So he called in each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 800 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 400. Then he asked the second, "How much do you owe?" 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, "Take the bill and make it 800. The master commanded the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. The master commended the dishonest manager because he acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than they are people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings." All right, down here in our description, it says from 15:1-2, we know that Jesus has been speaking to tax collectors, sinners, Pharisees, and teachers. To this audience is now added disciples, probably meaning Jesus' followers, not only the 12. Literal biblical translations we add also before disciples, and said also unto his disciples. Readers who don't look at Luke 15:3 can find this parallel difficult, if not impossible to understand. Is it bad to be shrewd? Not really. To be shrewd is to be keen-witted, clever, or discerning in practical affairs. The dictionary equates shrewd to common sense. It is a mistake to associate being shrewd with bad things like being selfish, stingy, greedy, or hard-hearted. At one level of meaning of the parable is straightforward enough, and it is provided by Jesus himself. Use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself. Many early church writers enlarge upon this and add that you should use your advantages in this world to gain favor for yourselves in the next. One says, when therefore anyone anticipating his end and his removal to the next world lightens the burden of his sins by good deeds, either by canceling the obligation of debtors or by supplying the poor with abundance. By giving what belongs to the Lord, he gains many friends who will attest his goodness before the judge and secure him by their testimony a place of happiness. Personally, I have my doubts about this expanded meaning. As you look deeper, the parable gets more confusing, since on the face of it, Jesus appears to be commending dishonest behavior. Virtually every commentary I found admits that this is a difficult passage to interpret, But here are a few theories as to why the rich man has commended his manager's actions. Equate dishonesty with being streetwise. In the message, Eugene Peterson translates verses 8 through 9 as follows. Nowhere's surprise. Nowhere's a surprise. Oh, now here's a surprise. The master praised the crooked manager. And why? Because he knew how to look after himself. Streetwise people are smarter in this regard than law-abiding citizens. They are on constant alert, looking for angles, surviving by their wits. They want you to be smart in the same way, for it is what is right, using every adversary to stimulate you to create survival, to concentrate your attention on the bare essentials so that you'll live, really live, and not complacently just get by on good behavior. Some scholars believe that the manager cut out the interest that was being improperly charged by the rich men. In those days, records of a loan were sometimes inflated in order to get around the Judaic prohibition against usury. Thus, a loan of 400 gallons of oil might be written up as 800, so that the loan would appear to be without interest. The manager thus might be reducing the loan to the original amount. Others believe the manager eliminated his own commission. That would not have affected the master negatively. The editors of this New Jerusalem Bible state that it was the custom for a steward to take the commission on all the sales of his master's goods, as was his only means of making a salary. In the present case, the original loan was presumably 400 gallons of olive oil and 800 bushels of wheat. In reducing the debtor's bills, he is not depriving his master of anything, but only sacrificing his own immediate interests by foregoing his legitimate commission. It is for this that he is praised as astute. It is a combination of 2 and 3. That is, the manager jacked up the price without the master's knowledge, and now he was deducting the excess profits he himself had tacked on to their accounts, earning the gratitude of the debtors and the admiration of the master. The master is not being cheated, and he commends the master's shrewdness in getting the good graces of the customers who owed him money. Another theory is that although the master was affected financially, the incident improved his image as well as the manager's. Why else do business owners have sales? 6. Jesus is not commenting on the manager's methods, but rather on his motives. Even as a wicked manager, he has the foresight and the wisdom to plan ahead and look out for his own future. He knows that his job is ending, so he prepares a path forward so he will be provided for and looked after by others. This leads into verse 9 about being welcome into eternal dwellings. Here Jesus says even if the wicked can plan for their future in their selfish and narrow-minded ways, are you planning for your future? Are you shrewd enough and clever enough to do? And do you have enough foresight to plan for the real future? Depending on where you are in your Christian life, any or all of these could be the right interpretation. No matter which interpretation you lean towards, the important thing is you apply this parable to your life today. In this parable, Jesus is clearly not praising dishonesty. He's not saying that the ends justify the means. Put another way, Jesus is commending the dishonest manager for his shrewdness, not the shrewd manager for his dishonesty. The manager's principle is the right one, even if he goes about it the wrong way. And I don't think he's trying to say even the crooks of the world know that money is a tool and not an end in itself. Why can't the people of faith understand that? Use your resources, whatever they are, and even the treasures of others to benefit those in need, and you will be rewarded at the final judgment. Matthew 10:16 says, "Look, I am sending you out as sheep among wolves. Be shrewd as snakes and harmless as doves." Very good. Take a look at this one here. What have we got? The rich man and Lazarus from Luke 16:19 through 31. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angel carried him to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried in hell, where he was in torment. He looked up and saw Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, "Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire." But Abraham replied, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us and you a great chasm has been fixed, so that those who want to go from here to you cannot, nor can anyone cross over from there to us. He answered, I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, so they will not also come to this place of torment. Abraham replied, They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them. No, Father Abraham, he said, but if someone of the dead goes to them, they will repent. He said to them, If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, they will not be convinced, even if someone from the dead. Well, very interesting. And let's see what we have to say here. All right. Well, basically from this is a good lesson about karma on one hand, and it's about personal responsibility, because Lazarus, was taken up into the good place after a hard life, and yet the king, the rich man who wanted to be saved, he was having to take responsibility for his actions. He wanted the easy way out. And then he wanted to do the noble thing when he realized that the easy way out wasn't going to work for him. He wanted his brothers to be warned, which is a noble thing. However, the response was they have to also bear responsibility for themselves. They can't just be scared into something because they see somebody who says you better do this or else. And so it's important that we pay attention, and listening is very important to this. Listening to what the words are that we're being told, listening to the messages, listening to the parables, because there's deep messages in all of these. What all of this seems to get to, a parable is a story that's told in a symbolic way, just in the way that the tarot or astrology are all symbols that represent energies around us. Everything around us is a symbol. When we go into the world today, you'll see symbols of corporations, which we call logos nowadays. Logos, you got all these logos everywhere, but they are all symbolic representations of something else. A company, an idea, a person, TV show, so on and so forth, on and on and on. Symbols, logos, all day long. So the more we learn to interpret and understand these symbols, the more we understand about where we're going and where we want to get to. And there's lots of different ways, and there's lots of different symbols, and it really depends on where we focus our energy. And if we pay attention to the symbols and they show us where we're going, if we choose not to go that way, it's up to us. It's up to us. So we all can, ultimately have to come back to that personal responsibility. Because if it's up to us where we're going, when the pendulum swings and we're in that place where now we're receiving the karma for what our actions were as it moves back and forth, we want to make sure that we are prepared to receive that which we've created for ourselves, the effect that we have caused. And if we're not, then we should pay attention to what we're doing. And so I think that's, for me, is the messages over and over that I hear. Personal responsibility. All right, let's move over to this article in 5D, The Art of Clearing Rejection. We all get rejected. All humans deal with rejection. Rejection gets stuck in our bodies and our subconscious and attracts things to us that we do not like. Here we clear rejection from the mind and the body with a simple process and intention. As we clear rejection on a consistent basis, we will attract more and more of the love we desire and become, in essence, love magnets, by Kim Caldwell. Empower yourself with the knowing that fear of rejection affects us on many levels. Even the gorgeous, sexy movie stars have challenges in their relationships. It is always exciting to find a new way of thinking that will empower us. As you become aware of these subtle happenings creating chaos in your life and you clear them, you're going to enter a new dimension of enjoying joyous interactions. Fear of rejection can create anything from loved ones leaving, people treating us badly, or missing out on great opportunities in life. Fear, and it will appear. Rejection scenarios can surface from the subconscious like a bad computer program. This will attract things we do not want. An example of this would be issues of the opposite sex parent playing out an unsatisfying romantic relationship. Daddy issues are really a thing. Feeling rejected by a parent will follow us until we make peace with and heal the situation. We also bury rejections that have occurred over the years deep in our energy field unknowingly. This again is creating rejection scenarios that replay throughout our lives. It is common to want to run from bad relationships in our lives in order to find better people and circumstances, but this does not work. We must clear up our lives where we are in order to get to where we want to be. Plus, we want to remember the benefits that hard times produce, knowing that our challenges help us to become much more. When you experience rejection, take that hit in the solar plexus and have that feeling of complete disempowerment. Stop and take a deep healing breath. Recognize what is going on. Clear the root of the energetic disturbance. Practice this powerful process in the video below. So here we have a nice video. 4 minutes and 7 seconds. I'm going to leave it for you to play. It says, as you fine-tune the system to fit your needs and practice, you will experience great shifts in yourself, and you can expect pleasant surprises in interactions. Have faith and enjoy the process. For more ideas in creating divine relationships, enjoy this article, Attracting Divine Love Here. I send you peace and blessings, Kim Caldwell. So I'm going to leave this here for you to watch and enjoy. And I'm going to move on to our channeled message for today. Today is from the Elohim. Alright, here we go.
The Elohim.
By Carla Thompson, October 19, 2014.
Many greetings to all light warriors. This grand portal October 8th to 23rd develops magnificent thrust as all light warriors cleanse and refine lower timelines, and then return to upper timelines for rest, recovery, and relaxation. The event, which you ask clarity on, was indeed the bottom of the roller coaster ride. In other words, we confirm you moved to denser timelines, for final cleansing of serious world events including timelines carrying the remnant energies of nuclear war. Many light warriors moved with you on this very dramatic mission, although they may not have noticed extreme physical densification, as expressed through extreme physical fatigue and weakness, as your multidimensional selves carry on great nightly missions and even during all sleeping states of consciousness. Not all light warriors carry this role in their contracts, therefore not all light warriors experience sudden physical depletion, third eye visions, and seemingly random thoughts that, if considered in a neutral and open fashion, are actually all signs of this type of highly honored work. The portal that you experienced this night, physically through sudden extreme dizziness and with third eye visuals of a gold-orange vortex, was your accurate perception of travel from the very dense, chaotic, and devastated lower timelines, back up into the highest of timelines for needed repair and healing to your energetic bodies. This golden-orange vortex was the infinity portal nearby, in White Rock, which you have been using for various missions for some time now. This portal moves like a tsunami and now begins to form the wave in ever-building energies as you near the complete alignment of this event. These days will now carry fewer and fewer deep space missions, as you move closer to the upcoming shift, the expansion in frequency, and the personal shedding of dense energetic layers that you have all carried for a very long time. Resolution comes with the letting go. Move into releasing all patterns of thought and patterns of emotion that only serve to feed negativity and uncertainty. It is a moment of recalibration. It follows the necessary letting go of many issues that each one sees as major areas of negative influence upon your lives. A reflection upon one's life shall show at least one area that needs patterns released, and reset. As one releases issues that attach one to lower expressions of density, one rises up, with the rising energies of this portal, riding the veritable tsunami into the highest expression of reflected reality within your reach. Now Gaia lifts with these rising frequencies, and if every light warrior reflects each upon their own lives, to identify one area of restriction, of emotional contraction, and honestly opens up to resolve this issue, the light force created from this decision shall have an enormous impact upon the resolution and freeing of Gaia from lower energies. Gaia has separated from the dense lower timelines, but now needs your assistance in lifting her further through the energies of this portal. Identify, accept, forgive, and release any consuming aspect currently on your waking mind. These actions carry huge import for your own evolution and therefore Gaia's release into the new galaxy. As light warriors each remove their own personal issue, creating dense energies of a consuming and consternating nature, it is likened to dropping ballast from the hot air balloon. The more ballast removed, the higher and faster the balloon ascends. All light warriors contribute in their own way, there is no doubt. Choose to enlighten your load and further assist in Gaia's expansion into her new position in the newly created Golden Galaxy. Close your eyes. Feel into these energies within this message, feel Gaia rising up into the perfection of the newly expanded expression of all that is. You came here for this journey. Awaken to its truth, now. With infinite love, we are the Elohim.
Alright, very nice message. So go ahead and close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. Imagine that you are walking down the road, and as you're walking down the road, you find yourself to be weighed down to the earth. And when you look closely, you see these invisible chains around your ankles. And some of these chains are longer and some are smaller. And you see these chains, invisible chains around your wrists. And some attached to your waist. And as you walk forward, you feel yourself pulling all of this weight of the past. All of the chains that we have woven through life. Of our beliefs. And as we walk and we look forward, we feel inspired to let go of all of these chains. To lighten our load, for now is the time. So we imagine finding a key. And we use this key to unlock the chains off our wrists and off our ankles. And as we do, we feel lighter and lighter. Until pretty soon we find ourselves floating. Floating off of the ground, rising higher and higher. And we let go completely and allow ourselves to be moved by the forces of nature, by the hand of God. And as we are moved, we find ourselves exactly where we need to be. And that we arrive there effortlessly. And that the moment we let go, our journey began. And the healing continued. So imagine yourself floating up highward, being moved along by the hand of God to where you need to be. And just think positive thoughts for yourself and for the world as you move through life, trusting that life is moving through you and moving you where you need to be. So just let yourself move along and just imagine sending out love and light and positivity as you are moved through the world by the hand of God. Let's imagine today's affirmation. Contemplate the words, what I imagine I can do, I can do. So let your imagination roam to all the possibilities and let yourself experience without judgment what it is that God is moving you towards. So just appreciate the freedom you feel in letting go. Keep sending love and light into the world. And let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. All right, we made it. Another show, another week. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your time having Halloween surprises. Remember, we got surprises, unexpected changes, things going on today, things to evolve and move with. Our imagination wants to find an expression. Remember the ideas of Aquarius. Take some time to meditate, go inside, see what's going on. That's it. Links are available for the show tomorrow, Saturday night. I'll be at KCAA Radio, AM 1050, or if you are in Southern California, from 6 to 10 p.m. Otherwise, KCAAradio.com or OneStepBeyondImagination.com is where you can find us, actually. That's it. I'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend. I love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.